Hello everyone, I'm Nicole and welcome to my channel. Okay, let's get into it. Lil Simsie recently created a shell challenge called the Dino Shell Challenge. I am trying to challenge myself with this one. I picked a pretty big lot and we'll have to see how it goes. If you watched the video where I built my purple house for PlumGen, then you'll know that I kind of wanted to do a shell challenge anyway. I'll link that video down below if you're interested in watching it. So here's what we're looking at. The shell is a little crazy. It's called the Dino Challenge because she felt like the first floor looked a little like a dinosaur. The way that I ended up doing it was thinking that the balcony would be in the front. So there was already sort of this look of a balcony, so I chose to keep that towards the front. And I just went to put the rails on just so I knew that that was going to be our balcony. Now, the roofing on this one, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to go with. I knew I wanted more of a modern roof, and I wanted it to look sort of angular. So I went with all angular shapes and decided to just have them all kind of point one direction. Except when I got to the back, I realized that there was this little tiny piece that I couldn't put an angular roof on. I decided to just put a regular roof and fit the angular one within the regular one so it all kind of blended together. I think it came out pretty okay in the end. With this shell challenge, I knew that it was going to be difficult for me. I knew it was going to be a little bit of a challenge, but I was looking forward to that challenge. I was looking forward to creating something that I'd never created before and really experiment with all of the different aspects of build mode. The next thing I knew was that I wanted a porch. I knew that I wanted a porch on the ground and then some balconies up top. So I started off doing that, knocking down the walls, and then I decided to just make a balcony on the floor and a balcony up top. So it all kind of looked symmetrical and really looked good with the shape of the house. The outside of the house was also pretty difficult for me. I saw this gray paneling with the black bar in the middle of it, and I thought it looked nice on the corners of the house. So I kept thinking to myself that I wanted to use those columns, but I couldn't find a column that really looked good, that fit in well with the paneling that I had initially liked. So I decided to scratch that paneling altogether. I found another kind of paneling that I liked for just the top half of the house on the outside. And then I chose a lighter gray, sort of blue color for the rest of the outside. Then of course with the gray paneling at the top, I thought that the black roofing actually looked really good. So here I am again trying to organize the columns so that it looked good, but I still couldn't find the column that really gave the look I was trying to give, matching with the gray at the top. Plus, I actually felt like it was a little too much having all of those columns. So I decided to scratch all of them and only put the columns around the prominent corners of the house on the outside. So up to this point, I felt like things were looking good. I liked the shape of the house. It still looked really modern to me on the outside. And so I wasn't losing the vision. Up to this point, I felt like it was going well. I also knew that because I was going with a more modern look, I of course wanted a more modern looking door and modern windows to give that look of an open floor plan. Of course, I have to put my lights all throughout, but speaking of floor plans, that was one of the hardest things I had to try to figure out with this build, was figuring out the floor plan for not only the first floor, but the second floor as well. I finally did figure it out, figuring that I'd put the kitchen in this little corner here and then keep everything else pretty much an open floor plan like I initially had envisioned. But placing the stairs was really difficult and I couldn't figure out what was a good spot for the stairs leading upstairs as well as the stairs leading to the basement. I played around with a couple of different options and a couple of different placements for the stairs, but I kept having to go back and forth between what looked good downstairs and what looked good upstairs, and then incorporating what would look okay on the second floor. I finally did come to an agreement with myself that I just was gonna separate the two staircases and have them in two separate places in the house. And in my mind, because the house is a little more modern, my thought was to make them black instead of brown. So again, up to this point, I had not even started with really working the floor plan upstairs. I had only started with the downstairs floor plan. And I knew that I wanted there to kind of be like a washroom downstairs, so not a full bathroom, and then a full bathroom upstairs. When I build, I sometimes forget to use angular walls. I sometimes forget that you can do that when you build. I always build kind of square, and I realize in this shape that an angular wall or more of a diagonal wall would probably suit this build better. So I decided to incorporate that in the upstairs layout so that I could fit in a couple of different rooms, a bathroom, without having to move any of the exterior walls. So again, in my mind, I felt like this was gonna be really challenging for me because I watch other people build and they seem to have this vision that they are able to pull together. And I spoke about it in my build for my plum house and how difficult it is sometimes for those of us that maybe don't find ourselves to be that good of a builder to be able to kind of hold up against some of the other people who we see build all the time and that are really good at it and can really bring their vision together. At this point, I had more of an idea of what my vision was going to be in the fact that I wanted the house to be nice and modern, but I wasn't 100% sure how I was even gonna pull that off. I was hoping to find the things within build mode that would help me pull that off and bring that vision together, but I wasn't 100% sure that I was going to find it. And because I also wanted an open floor plan for this downstairs area, I struggled with having a wall up leading from the kitchen into the common areas like the living room and the little den. And I wasn't sure if there was going to be anything that I could put up there to make that vision come to life. I did end up finding this really large doorway. It gave me that open floor plan that I was looking for. Now I do wish that they created these in a few different colors because it was very limited to what I could select to really make it look modern. And the colors that they gave me didn't really go with the colors that I was looking for the kitchen area. So I ended up having to settle for sort of a black and gold framing for the walkway, but that wasn't really going to be my theme for the kitchen. I wasn't going to do black and gold. I also knew that I wanted fencing. I knew that I wanted a nice big yard. I knew that I was interested in having a lot of things within the backyard, and I kind of wanted the house to look a little rich. So I decided to do this fencing. It wasn't very tall. I didn't want really tall fencing. I still wanted it to be simple, but give a sense of these people are important and they need their lawn blocked off. The windows in the kitchen were pretty difficult for me too because I kind of like the full panel window, which I couldn't have in the kitchen because I needed cabinets and I needed countertops. And with that, you can't really have the full panel windows. So I was trying to find something that would still give me a nice modern look with a big window, but not to the point where I would have to compromise my counters and my cabinets. So again, in my mind, in the kitchen, I wanted a black and white theme or sort of a black and gray and white theme. And that was pretty easy to find countertops and cabinets that were giving me that white and black mixture that I was looking for. Now I could never figure out if I want to put something over the stove or not. I feel like in real kitchens, there is always a fan or some sort of vent over the stove, but I couldn't sort of figure out if that's the look that I wanted for this house, and none of the vents or fans that they have to go over the stove really fit my vibes. So I ended up landing with one, but I wasn't completely sold on it. At the end of the day, it did look good with the kitchen and I felt like it blended in okay, as long as I put another cabinet on the other side of it so that it kind of flowed with the kitchen. So I ended up going with one of those taller cabinets, which I don't usually use in a build because I never really feel like there's space for it. And there wasn't really space in this kitchen either, but I went with it anyway. And like I said, it flowed well with having that vent over the stove as well as the other cabinets in the room. Wallpaper for the kitchen was pretty simple. I felt like I knew what I was looking for. Again, I wanted it to look rich and sophisticated because of the black and gray feel. So I ended up finding this really pretty white one that had really pretty borders along the top of the wallpaper. and it worked out really nicely and looked really good in the kitchen. I also felt like because of that little nook that was there, I wanted a little table. I put the windows around so that they can look out in that area, and I wanted a little table with a couple of chairs. The space was a little tight and wasn't exactly what I was envisioning at first, but I was able to get 2 chairs in there, which was good enough for me, and it still gave me that vision of having a table there, sitting some chairs there so that they can be in their kitchen, sit in their kitchen, drink their coffee, and look out their window at their yard. So placing items on cabinets in places that The Sims don't allow you to place them is always a point of difficulty for me. I see people do it all the time and they're able to swing right through it, and I always feel like it takes me multiple tries to try to get the item to be exactly where I want it to be without it clipping or without it automatically going to a spot that I wasn't wanting it to go to. I always eventually get it to where I want it, but it just takes me a couple of good tries. I don't know if anyone else experiences that. Let me know in the comment section if you do, if you're having this struggle and want some help with it, or if we all have it and that's just the way that the game is. So next I wanted this area to sort of be a little bit of like a reading nook, a little den in the downstairs area. So I envisioned it being a couch with maybe a bookcase there, but of course there wasn't enough space in that area for all of that. So I decided to do 2 chairs, a little table in the middle, and then of course put my little area rug there. And I did end up getting one of those floating shelf bookcases to fit there too, so it all looked really cute and cozy, which is the look I was going for. So of course I knew that I wanted this little room to sort of be, like I said earlier, a little washroom for the downstairs. I had also struggled with the flooring and whether or not I wanted all brown wood floors or if I wanted that hint of black just to separate the room. I ended up going with the all brown wood floors. I thought it actually looked better than the black, and it didn't break the room up. I wasn't sure I liked the fact that the room was broken up by the floor. So instead, you'll see later on in the build, I decided to break it up by the wallpaper. This was also going to be like a little living room area. I knew that I wanted somewhere where there was the TV and where the family could gather. So again, because there wasn't a lot of space, I just decided to make it simple, one little couch, a smaller TV, and I love the open windows and lots of sunshine that shines through. I love sunlight, so I felt like it fit my vibes perfectly. And then of course having a little lamp in the corner for some light at night. The table that I used in this room, I've never used in a build before. I actually think it's pretty cool. I just wish that it came in a few different colors. I also wish that the grass in the middle there was in different colors too. I then wanted to do something with the walls. I felt like they were too bare and I couldn't really find a painting that I liked. So I just chose these really pretty, in my opinion, sort of leafy vines that are kind of framed. I don't know if I've seen them before. I'm sure they've been part of the game for a while, but I don't know if I've used them and I don't know if I've seen them before. I really liked them, and I actually don't think that they're meant to be wall decor. I think they're actually meant to be dividers, but I was able to use bb.move objects and push it up against the wall as close as possible, so it kind of looks like wall decor, and it really fits the vibes of the room with the grass being in the middle of the table. And then like I said earlier, I did decide to split the room up by using wallpaper. So I did purple, a sort of lavender purple in the living room area, and then a more coral peachy color in the den area along with the rest of the room. I knew that I wanted a shelving unit in the living room as well, and I wanted it to fit perfectly against that extended wall that I had there. And then putting things on that shelving unit, again, created such difficult for me because I'm still getting used to, especially playing on Xbox, lifting items like you see builders do on PC. And so it was a little difficult for me to try to navigate using the controller and lifting the items to the shelf that I wanted them to be on. I eventually figured it out, kind of gave up on some of the items I wanted to lift, but it turned out okay. Some of the shelves were left empty, but I'm okay with that. We could put pictures and stuff there when a family moves in. I also have found in watching other people build how important plants are. I never really used plants in my builds in the past. I never really put a lot of effort into my decor in general. So building now, I find that I am using a lot more decor. I'm using a lot more plants throughout my build, and it also allows me to really make the house look homey, which is great because that's the vibe that we're going for anyway. When our Sims are living in a house, the idea is that this is their home. So we want them to live comfortably and really feel like their house is a home. So building with different decor and building with plants around the house and cabinets and things on the countertops, it really has allowed my builds to grow and really develop into really nice looking rooms and builds and homes overall. I also knew that I wanted to put a flower on that table in the kitchen. So throughout the build, I kept kind of popping back into the kitchen to try to see what might look good on that table. I eventually did find a nice small cute plant that fit perfectly on such a small table, and it actually looked really good, gave the kitchen a pop of color. And of course, like I said, putting decor and little items and plants throughout the house, even in the little kitchen nook, really brings the house to life and gives the Sims something to look at, gives them things that make their house really feel homey. I would actually say that I really give credit to Lil Simsie for that because I never used to build that way until I found her on YouTube and I started watching her videos and seeing how she builds. It really inspired me to look deeper into build mode and really try to make my builds something that I would want to live in. At this point, I'm trying really hard to give the whole feel, kind of close out the first floor, and I knew that I wanted something along the railing because it just looked too empty right there, but I couldn't find anything. I tried flowers, I tried other types of decor, and I couldn't really find anything that I really liked until I found this table. I liked this table. I felt like it fit. I felt like the colors gave the room a pop, but I couldn't find any color scheme or any table to really go with the chairs or to go with the wallpaper. None of it really tied right in. The table just kind of looked out of place, along with the plants when I tried those too. So I did eventually find a black table that kind of has a cute little shape to it, and I was able to use that, put a few decor items on top, and it reminded me a lot of actually a table that I have in my house right now that just is like an accent table as soon as you walk in the house, giving a little bit of flavor to the house and giving someone an idea of what the family enjoys. Adding a little flavor to the house and gives a little decor look as soon as you walk in. I also found myself getting into all of the different paintings that I was coming across in the decoration section. I found myself loving the butterfly poster, and also I saw, which I've never seen before, these sea pictures. It's like pictures of fish underwater or a turtle underwater, and I really liked those. I actually ended up putting a few of those throughout the house, and they were really nice. I also used one of the mirror frames from the newest kit just because it was colorful. I ended up going with the black one, but throughout it also tied in with the theme of the house overall and giving sort of a modern look. I played around with a few of the other colors, but against the wallpaper and with the look of the room, I didn't feel like it really fit without being black. And then of course I wanted to make sure that I went ahead and put a few more items on the counters in the kitchen. I did put that fruit basket in the foyer area, so I wanted to make sure that I put one in the kitchen as well because they just look really nice, and again, ties the home in to make it look really homey. By the end of this part of the build, I had completed the first floor, but still had to do the entire second floor and the outside landscaping. So I decided to split it into 2 videos because it was just so long and there was so much to cover, and I didn't want to take away from any part of the build. So I decided to split it into part 1 and part 2. Make sure that you check out part 2 so that you can see the final result of the build and how the upstairs and outside turns out. At the end of the first floor, I was really happy with how it all came out. I was still able to keep my open floor plan, which is what I was looking for, but keep the outside shell and not have to alter anything per the rules by Lil Simsie. and I still was satisfied with everything that I was able to do. And up to this point, the overall look of the house was definitely the vibes that I was going for. So make sure that you click through to the next video so you can see the end of it, so you can see part 2. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that bell so you know when we're putting up videos in the future. I think that's good for this first one, guys. I'll see you in part 2. Thanks for watching.